Violence of Action is a story about a Green Beret, an Army Special Forces sergeant who we find in the beginning preparing to go into his command to see if his status as a beret will be continued, and if he can go on missions again. He finds out that he's been let go due to some infractions. He loses his pension, his health care. His family's in a bad state. He's bankrupt due to some prior problems with that has left him bereft, and then he has to find a way to make a living. And the easiest, fastest way for him to do that is to become a contractor for an organization that he's told is doing good work abroad and work of deep national security. And then he goes abroad to on his first mission, and his first mission is surveilling this gentleman who he's been told is doing creating biological weapons for terrorist organizations. And one thing leads to the next, and it turns out he's the one that's hunted, and then he has to find out what's going on. There's a bit of The Revenant in there. There's a bit of Bourne. There's a bit of Jack Ryan, I guess. But there's a very European sensibility to it. I mean, the first 30 or 40 pages really are all about character and all about the story in which we find our lead. And I thought it was true, or at least investigated the complexities of a soldier who has a family, who's dealing with financial problems, as many of our soldiers do, who's dealing with the effects of war, which many of our soldiers do. There's issues of suicide and mental health. There's issues of fathers and sons, the genealogy of masculinity, the stories that men tell other men and men tell boys. So I thought it was really, there was much to mine here that you could have your cake and eat it too. You could tell a really entertaining story in the mold of great action thrillers, but also get something much more in-depth and much more complex and much more nuanced. In all of this is a story about families. It's a story about James, who's dealing with a son who's much more sensitive than he is, who isn't in the mold, the masculine mold that James was raised in. He doesn't know how to deal with a son like that. He's been away from his son. He's been away from the structure of the family. He's trying to reinsert himself into a structure that he's been absent from, and maintain a relationship with his wife, even though they're bogged down by incredible misfortune financially. You have Mike, who's dealing with a son who has severe disabilities, and you see the sensitivity with which he deals with his son, but also burdened by the fact that he's going to need care for the rest of his life, and how is he going to afford that? You have Salim and his children, and you have James, who takes the father away from this family, destroys this family, disrupts this family. It is much to do about families and the nuclear relationships of these families and those strong bonds. And if they're cracked open, it's like splitting an atom, and a mini nuclear holocaust happens. Tarek has been really a joy to work with. He is a true collaborator. He's invested in the collaborative effort of filmmaking. So he has a distinct vision, but is always welcoming ideas and changes, and he loves to live in the moment in a scene to figure out what's percolating and working in the here and now, which I enjoy. one of the first meetings we had, we talked about why the film was important to us, because it was very important for me to meet a filmmaker that I felt had a deep kinship to the material, and I wanted and needed to know why. And he did have that relationship to the material, and you can see it in every frame, or at least I felt it in working with him every day, that he was investigating something within himself, how men deal with men and boys, and violence and the result of violence, the effects of violence, the reality of the effects of violence. It really has been a great joy. I can't say enough about Tar. And then, of course, we have Amira, and I'd seen Amira's work and been a huge fan, and Nina's work, and I just watched all of her films. I went on a Nina Haas tear, and to have her come in and play this small but pivotal role in our film with such dedication and such passion, we really film in many ways is made or broken by every part, every small part, one line, two lines. You need the fabric needs to be tight. You need to feel the lives of all these people, and we were blessed with an abundance of talent.